What's up, everyone? Welcome to Wednesday night. It's time for Mythic Conversations. We're going to do a different show tonight. It's actually going to be kind of a conversation, as conversational as I can get with no guests. Tonight's going to be Ask Me Anything. So I've never done one of these. Eric and I have done shows where we kind of do a lot of Q&A with the audience quite a bit. I've never done just a straight Ask Me Anything, so I didn't have anything planned tonight. There was no specific topic. It seems like after the last few weeks where everything was very, very focused, this week I didn't have anything on the docket. So rather than, trying to manufacture something, I said, you know what, I'm going to take it a little bit easier tonight. And rather than prepare a lot of content, I'm going to just let the content be a little more organic. We're going to have a question and answer period. So we'll get to that in a bit. First things first, let's talk about what's going on. Obviously, we've got the pre-order for Outposts, not Outposts Axios, for Harrow Zone, Cosmic Legions, Oxcrew, Book 2, Harrow Zone. That ends this coming Sunday. So I'm going to bring up the store right here. How's everyone doing tonight? Hope you're having a wonderful evening. So this was a very short pre-order window, just about a month. This one went really, really fast. It seems like they always kind of go pretty quickly. So much of my life these days, since I've joined Four Horsemen full time, it always seems to be looking at the calendar, right? Because there's so much work, there's so much buildup getting to launching a new wave or dropping something new. And then as soon as that is done, like we're already working on what's coming next. So it's always, you don't get that kind of relief of like, okay, now it's launched, we can breathe easy, because you're always focused on what's coming next. There's so much. So my calendar, it makes my life go by very, very quickly. This wave debuted at LegionsCon, again, about a month ago at the start of August. We debuted this at LegionsCon. It's a nice small wave. We've had a lot of, Legionnaires tell us that they like these smaller waves. It's a $300 all-in, 7 figures plus an accessory set. I've gone through this over the past few weeks. Right after LegionsCon, I did a bit of a deep dive on this wave to really talk about the characters and my favorites and all that. And then, of course, Joe was on with me last week. We did the pop and swap show that we always do. So we've covered this at length. I'm not going to go into the actual characters again, but I just want to remind everybody that this coming Sunday, which is September 1st, at 11 p.m. Eastern time, the pre-order will be done. If you've seen any of the marketing for this, and you've heard even me talking about it on the show, you have heard us say that the pre-order window is really your opportunity to get these figures. That's really always been kind of the case, but for a number of years, there was such a demand, and that we realized that from the time that the pre-order ended till the time that they got delivered, the community would grow so much that there would be a need to help get those new Legionnaires these figures. So we would always order extras to bring to shows and so forth, and to do like online in-stock sales. We haven't done an online in-stock sale for a pre-ordered wave in a couple years now, and there are no plans to do so. Additionally, because we have a much larger retailer base now, there's a lot more approved retailers out there worldwide. there's a lot of opportunities to get these figures even outside of maybe this pre-order. So one thing that we are trying to communicate to everybody, and I'm trying to communicate as well, is we are planning to order far fewer extras of these waves, not only this wave, but some of the more recent waves. There are going to be very few extras ordered of those waves going forward. So, everyone has financial realities. If now's not a good time for you, that's why we do like to have retailers that offer them after our window. That is why we do try to bring them to some shows. But you are going to start seeing these in much smaller numbers outside of the pre-order windows. We are still a very small company, ordering a lot of extra stock that doesn't already have a home that we have to warehouse and bring to shows. That is really not kind of how we're set up. Even though we've got more warehouse space and we're doing more shows, we're also producing a lot more waves. So the idea is that, we don't want that extra inventory to sit around for a year and come to a whole bunch of shows, because during that span, a lot of other waves are going to arrive as well. They're going to hit the show circuit. So what does all that mean? I'm thrilled when people support the waves and when they buy. My advice to you is, if you can get in on the pre-orders, that is the best time to do so. Because the other thing is, the prices that you pay through the direct pre-order are the lowest prices you're going to pay. One thing that you're going to start seeing going forward is the retail price that retailers charge. That's going to be what we're going to start charging at shows as well, which is really how it was supposed to be. That, the shows, that's the retail price. When you buy it at the pre-order, when you pay $37 for one of these figures, the reason they're discounted is that kind of early pre-order bonus. You're paying for it up front and you're getting a lower price because of that. So we've been offering them at shows at only a few dollars more than the discounted pre-order price to cover sales tax. But we're going to be kind of leveling that off, where the price at shows is going to actually reflect what MAP pricing is. At the same time, one thing I will tell you is that we're actually lowering prices too. So a $50 figure, that's what a standard figure is at retail now. The support of the line has been so incredible that we've been able to not only add more value to the figures, but we are also going to be offering figures at slightly lower prices. So while we're going to be charging maybe a little bit more at shows, the actual retail price is going to be coming down a little bit. So it's not going to actually be as much of a change. But the takeaway is the pre-order is going to genuinely become, or the direct pre-order, the lowest price you're ever going to pay. It's not only going to be, it's not going to be much more at shows. I think a standard figure will be $45 at shows instead of $40 now. So make your buying decisions, figure out what works the best for you. If you're already buying from retailers, this will actually save you a few bucks. My only suggestion is, if you are going to pre-order from a retailer, don't wait to do so until they arrive. Get that pre-order in, because the pre-orders, a lot of retailers don't charge up front, but getting those pre-orders in allows retailers to understand what they have to order, so we can actually order accurate numbers at the factory to produce these figures and not have to guess at those extras, because as I said, we're not going to be doing those. So get that order in. That ends this coming Sunday. That is September 1st at 11 p.m. Eastern time. That is when the direct pre-order at Store Horseman ends. The retailer pre-order will start right after that. Okay, so that's really kind of the big piece of news that's going on. So I'm going to go back and see what the comments were here. See if I have any. So I will tell you, obviously, with an Ask Me Anything, I put in the note, ask me anything, but there's no guarantee I'm going to answer it. So like whenever we do these things, hey, David, how you doing, man? Whenever we do these kinds of things, Q&As and stuff like that, there's obviously certain questions I can't answer. If you ask me, are you ever going to do X? I'll tell you right now, the answer is, who knows what the future holds? It could be something we're going to do. I'm not going to give you a committal answer on that, because it could be something we're actually working on, or it could be something that we might work on in the future. So stuff like that, would you ever do that? You can ask me if I think something would be cool. I'll try to answer that. So if I can't answer it, I won't. Kevin Boots, favorite meal, either pizza or sushi, not combined. I don't like sushi pizza, but my favorite meal, if I'm choosing, is either going out for sushi or pizza is always wonderful. Let's see. Going through comments here. Mythic Dolphin, does Cog's head swap onto any other figure? Yeah, so again, check the show we did last week, Joe and myself. Cog's head, it requires that neck. And again, we're going to see how they're going to configure this at the factory. But as of right now, that head doesn't use the same kind of connection that a standard neck post does. So it's the same thing that Orvar comes with. They're actually the same head. There's an adapter in the Oxcrew torsos to use a regular like 1.0 neck ball. If you pull out that adapter, it fits the Cog head. We actually show it in detail on last week's show. Let's see. So these shows are always interesting too, because there's like moments of silence as I literally go through and read the comments. A lot of people suggesting to smash the like button. Thank you very much. Heavy Gunner in stock sale. So that's actually a good. We haven't announced this yet. Originally, we were saying that's going to be September. It looks like we're going to be pushing that to October. We're trying to figure out exactly when in October, but we had a few things that we had to kind of move around. And because we're coming right off of this pre-order, we didn't want to do, because that the Tusk Gunner is a cosmic figure. We didn't want to go right from this Cosmic Legions pre-order right into another sale where the Tusk Gunner is kind of the main attraction. So we're going to push that a little bit further into October. Stay tuned for more on that. What non-Four Horsemen toys am I buying? Today, I bought the Junkyard Joe. I pre-ordered the Junkyard Joe figure from Mezco Toys. Pretty cool. It's a Ghost Machine character. Ghost Machine is an independent comic imprint. So it's all owner, artist owned. So it's kind of cool that they got a figure. And I like the Rumble Society stuff from Mezco, and it kind of feels like it's going to fit in with those Rumble figures. Plus, it's just a cool robot type character. So I'm buying that. I've been buying Glyos figures. I just got a couple more on eBay. Got a drop from Onell like about a week ago. That's probably most of what I'm getting right now. I did just get my NECA Ben Cooper Kids Wave 1 set shipped to me from Big Bad Toy Store. I missed Wave 2, but it looks like a friend is going to help me out and get me Wave 2. I totally missed that. That was on pre-order. So I've been buying like random NECA stuff here and there, but those Ben Cooper Kids hit me right in the nostalgia feels. So I'm pretty excited for that. Not much beyond that. I get the occasional G.I. Joe Classified if it's a figure that I'm really, really into. Who from the studio will be at RetroCon? Definitely Cookie. Beyond Cookie, I'm not sure. Joe often goes to local shows like that, but as of right now, all I know is Cookie and, of course, Team Wolf King. Can I reveal any details on the Armory experience? I cannot. That reveal will be coming up in a couple of weeks. Don't worry. You will know when we're going to announce it. Does this mean Legion builders will be closer to retail? No. So we're not going to raise the Legion builder prices at retailers. They're, in my opinion, a bit high anyway. So we're going to level some of that stuff out. Like I said, we're trying. We don't just want to say like, okay, we're raising prices. We're looking at what the costs are. I mean, these figures that we're producing, we haven't raised prices in years, and they're costing us significantly more because we're adding so much more value to it. So the pre-order prices are staying the same. The retail pre-order prices are coming down. So, I mean, realistically, the only price that's going up even a little bit is what we're going to charge at the tables. But as I said, we're going to have very few of these to sell at the tables. We're still going to be doing special items and everything with special pricing and stuff. So ultimately, I think when everyone sits back and looks at what they're spending, you're actually going to probably spend less. That's probably how it's going to work out. If you're buying stuff direct on pre-order already, you're not going to see a change. The prices are going to stay the same. If you're buying pre-order from retailers, the price is actually going to go down. My suggestion, as I said, is get in on those pre-order prices because that's going to be how you are able to secure these. Don't depend on seeing them at a show because there's no guarantee. Is the Strat to Skeleton Legion Builder 2 the same as Lady Averona? I actually don't know, to be honest with you. I haven't compared the two of them. I am not backing the McFarlane Medieval Spawn Kickstarter. I actually have, ironically, a Series 1 Medieval Spawn signed by Todd McFarlane right here on my wall over my desk. Spawn is the line that really, really got me into collecting. It wasn't my first line, but it's the one that really made me like a collector. So this is like super, super nostalgia for me. I actually did back the other Spawn Kickstarter, the first one, and I honestly wasn't that into the figure. This Medieval Spawn looks actually cooler. It looks like it's a little more articulated, but it's not hitting me in the feels the same way. Like when I got the first Spawn, I did it totally for nostalgia reasons, and then I realized that it didn't hit me that way. So I ended up just buying some vintage ones, and that gave me the nostalgia that I wanted. Okay, let's see. If there are less ordered by the studio for shows, will we see less inventory at shows, and will that change the supply of parts for customer requests? The two are totally unrelated. What we have to fix any potential customer issues has zero to do with the number of extras that we order. So there will be no customer service change at all. Will it mean we have less inventory? Yes. It may be different inventory. You know, I mean, things like, you know, we just did with the skeleton and with the reissues and with the Tusk Gunner, you know, those are all reinforcements too. Those are all things that have nothing to do with pre-orders. Those were all in-stock items. As we continue to try to balance that out between pre-order items and in-stock items, you know, we're still going to have a ton of cool stuff at shows. You just won't see, you know, if a wave ships, you're not going to see it at, you know, the next 6 or 7 shows. That's not what you're going to see anymore. There's going to be far less to go around at the shows. And I mean, realistically, like I said, that was always the intention. The intention was always to only have enough for a few shows, but because, you know, we've ordered more recently, we've had a little bit more to bring to shows. So once again, that pre-order period always, for pre-ordered waves, always has been the time that we really focus on getting these in. When will fees be due for Intern for a Day? We'll be sending those next month. Terrence, great question. Am I surprised by how the 1000 Swigs story has evolved? Yeah. The fact that it has taken on a bit of a life of its own, I think is incredibly cool. You know, that very much was me making lemonade. You know, I think I mentioned before that I screwed up and I transposed some numbers on a spreadsheet and we ordered more Swigs than we intended to order. So we had a bunch of extra Swigs, approximately 1,000 extras. So when we did the mystery boxes earlier this year, a lot of Swigs were included with mystery boxes, and Swig's a great figure. So the fact that there were people joking about, you know, if you get a mystery box, you're almost guaranteed to get a Swig. I wanted to kind of see if I could flip that to go from, oh man, everyone's getting a swig, to swig actually being a desirable figure again that people really wanted, and there to be a reason to maybe get more than one. And it worked wonderfully well. I know I since I wrote that story, I think I've bought like 8 swigs to just mess around with and do stuff. I'm making 2 customs for the show. All of my family are making swig customs for the show. So yeah, I definitely am delighted, surprised and delighted by how it's kind of taken on a bit of a life of its own. What's my favorite sushi roll? I like the super Americanized fancy ones, usually things that have the word spicy in it. I like a spicy shrimp or a spicy crab. I know shrimp and crab are both cooked in rolls typically. I do like raw fish rolls as well, but a spicy shrimp or a spicy crab, especially if it's got other wacky stuff, those tend to be my favorite. My favorite sushi place around here, they have one called the 2014 roll. Shows you how long they've been doing it for. That's my favorite one. Are there hotels still available around LegionsCon? There absolutely are. Let me show you. I'm going to go to a website here. So if you go to legionscon.com, right at the top where it says venue, if you click that, it actually has the 3 different hotels that we have arrangements with. Now, the first one, the Hanover Marriott, that's the one that is currently sold out, barring any cancellations. If someone does cancel their reservation, then that goes back into the pool. But these other 2 here, they are still available as of today. They were actually, our block there had sold out as well. And I had a couple people telling me, hey, I tried to book one of the overflow hotels. I wasn't able to do so. We contacted them and they said, oh yeah, basically like the Saturday night, I think, was sold out. So if you click one of those now, and they're both very, very close, as you can see, they're both, this one is 4 minutes away. It's 1.8 miles. This one is 3 minutes away. It's 1.7 miles. So they're both very, very close. If you click one of those, it'll bring you right there. It's already got the dates filled in. That November 6th to the 11th, that's the window that we have. You can change that and everything, but you should see that right there. I'm in Chrome. It apparently doesn't work well in Chrome, which is very frustrating considering it's the most popular browser. But you can also call those hotels as well. So if you go to that page, you click on that, call the hotels, they'll be able to help you out. So there are 2 very, very close. Okay. Do the generic Tusk aliens have names for the races? Not that we've done. I mean, we will name them all at some point when we have to, but some of those heads, they weren't created to be characters. They were things that Eric had. Like one of them actually came from an intern for a day sculpting experience. So we didn't go too deep into those those alien races, but we will give them all races and stuff at some point. Will Necronominus be in the hands for Halloween? No, it will not be in the hands for Halloween. That is still in development right now. At this point, I don't know when it's going to be. We're still being told by the end of the year, but I know it's not going to be by Halloween. If Jobara has been assigned to serve under Kern Ray, we're talking about cosmic characters here. Does that mean that Oddcha and Bungie are on their side too? Yes. So they're all part of the Skate Haven group. So Oddcha and Bungie, I would say that they are more loosely affiliated. They're kind of, I don't want to say independent contractors because it's not that type of a relationship, but they're affiliated with Skate Haven. They aren't, maybe as tied in as, say, Kern Ray, Jobara, and Hylor are. And that's an interesting aspect of Cosmic Legion, something we baked into it right from the beginning. by using the name affiliation. In Mythic Legions, you have these factions, and a faction is like that's important. Like you have one faction that you swear loyalty to. And if you are going to change factions, that's a huge deal. You've already seen in Cosmic Legions, there are different characters that have more than one affiliation, right? Zeri has an affiliation to Mortal Thorn, and she has an affiliation to the Grave Ring. You're going to see more of that. Affiliations are groups that you're associated with, but it's not as definitive. It's not as steadfast, I guess, as like a faction would be in Mythic Legions. So Bungie and Acha are affiliated with Scapehaven, just like the Rovers are, and we're going to learn a lot more about Scapehaven in a future wave. Any plans for using the Conibus buck? So you asked if they're in motion. I can't answer that. But yeah, I mean, it's very rare that we produce something and don't try to find a use for it somewhere else. So we'll see. D&D question. If Rogue is my favorite class, what is my favorite monster? I mean, Displacer Beast, I always thought was really, really cool. I mean, Dragon is the easy answer. I mean, who doesn't like dragons, right? But Displacer Beast is one that I always remember just thinking was a cool looking monster. And it's very uniquely a D&D monster. I always had a real affection, Joe, for, and I'm going to probably say this wrong, but the way I always said it as a kid was the Githyanki. The first D&D book I ever had was the Fiend Folio, which I got at a KB Toys. I had no idea what it was. I walked in, I grabbed it. It just looked cool. It was filled with monsters. The Githyanki was on the cover of the Fiend Folio. So that one always kind of had a bit of a nostalgic place in my heart as well. It's been a long time since we've gotten any troll scale figures. Are we still open? I mean, yes, but we also did quite a few trolls. I've never mentioned this. It's in the book. I'll say it, whatever. What the hell? There was almost a troll in the Necronominus wave. I don't think I've ever mentioned this. There was almost a troll in the Necronominus wave when we initially started going through the ideas. Like a zombie troll was actually one of the potential things. It got axed very early on. There's no sculpture for it. There's no design for it. It was an idea. The challenge with trolls is they're huge and they're expensive. So, like I was talking earlier about smaller waves. The reason, for instance, if you go back to All-Stars 5, when we did All-Stars 5, Brontis was supposed to be in that All-Stars wave. If you followed from All-Stars 3 with the Stone Troll to All-Stars 4 with the Forest Troll to All-Stars 5, it was Brontis's turn. The reason we pulled him out was because we were looking at it. We were like, okay, we can either put 3 figures in this wave or we can put a troll. And we had these new ideas. We had these new parts we wanted to do. We were like, I think that this wave is going to be stronger by putting in 3 characters versus putting in 1 reissue troll. It's why we ended up doing the All-Stars troll wave with Brontis and the Ice Troll to round those out. But at this point, we've done 8 trolls. I mean, 4 if you really want to split hairs. I think that there would have to be a really good idea for a troll. We've said before there are other troll, species and varieties in Mythos. There's actually other troll designs that exist. Nate talks all the time about that, swamp troll that's on the photo, the illustration on the troll box. He didn't make that up. That does exist in design form. So we could do trolls down the road, but they do provide a challenge putting them into a wave. Okay, let's see. Drew saying Ben Cooper kids are cool. I got both waves. Yeah, dude, I'm super excited for them. Alex, someone already asked me about the Spawn Kickstarter. Maybe you might have asked that before I answered it. It's tough. I'm going from backwards forward, so it's tough to see what I may have. When you had posted that, I may not have answered it yet. What are some of my favorite 80s sci-fi or fantasy movies? I've been watching. Oh, come on. I've been watching a lot of stuff lately, like Beastmaster or Forbidden World. So Beastmaster is one I loved when I was a kid. That would have been before I read the second part of your question. I was going to say Beastmaster is one of my favorite shows like that. I mean, it's kind of cool these days to rag on Star Wars, but dude, I loved Star Wars growing up. Like that was you talk about the 80s. I was very much a Star Wars kid. I loved that stuff. So I would still say like the original Star Wars trilogy from that era. That is probably one of my favorites. I did like a lot of I liked Conan and Red Sonja and all that stuff. All of that fantasy stuff growing up, I really, really dug. Let's see. What can West Coasters do to help get more Four Horsemen appearances? Go to the ones we do. That's literally it. So we do have, I'm not ready to announce it yet, but we do have a show early next year in California that is already on the calendar. So we're just ironing out the details, but we are getting out there. We're going to be in Utah. We're going to be coming up in September. We're going to be at FanX in Salt Lake City, Utah. There's a street team show in Arizona that David Thomas, that crew is going to be doing. I've talked to people, and I mean, I get the West Coast is big, California is big, but I remember talking to someone like when we did the show in Sacramento, and there was like a 3-hour drive for them, and they're like, "Oh, it's way too far. I can't do that." And conversely, on the East Coast, dude, I see people like the Purple Gang. I see them drive all the way from North Carolina all the way to New Jersey or to Pennsylvania to see a show. I see people from New Hampshire drive all the way down to Pennsylvania to ZoloCon or something. Like the East Coast, people will travel. They will absolutely drive. 3 hours is nothing. They will drive 5, 6. I mean, I've seen people from Florida drive up to some of these shows and everything and drive for a day. And I'm not even talking about LegionsCon. So if you want more West Coast shows, we are going to start to try to do some. Again, we're going to do that California one. Support the show. Get out there and show us that it's worth doing it. Because at the end of the day, there's a financial reality to these shows. When we do a show in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, we throw the stuff in the truck, we drive it to the show. There's a lot less cost. When we do a show in California, we've got to deal with shipping product out there. We've got to deal with flying people out there, getting hotel rooms. The amount of additional expenses are extreme. If it's worth it for us to do, and if people come out and we have a great time and the fans come out to support the show and we see that, okay, there is a reason for us to come out there. There is a hunger for that beyond just asking us in posts. Whenever we post, hey, we're going to be at ZoloCon, and people are like, hey, come out to the West Coast. If they support those shows, we will do more of them. Okay, let's see. Yeah, a lot of people will be at the hotel on Thursday. So Thursday is intern for a day. So after intern, what typically happens is when we close our doors, because we got to get ready for G-Con the next day, people go back to the hotel and there's always a party going on. So I'm probably a little bit behind. So it's 8:04 and these comments came in at 7:49. That's where I am right now. So trying to get it. Chris, no, the price jumps won't be at LegionsCon. These are going to be on some of the newer stuff that's coming out. You're going to start seeing that going forward, not necessarily on the stuff we have right now. What happened to my instruments? They're literally just on the other side of the wall. I wanted to set that wall up. That wall is now going to be all my LegionsCon exclusives. They're all up there in boxed form, so the instruments are just right around the corner. The floating shelves that I assume, Jeff, you're talking about for what I was just pointing out, I got them on Amazon. I use IKEA Detolfs for my display almost exclusively, and then I just got a bunch of I have a freestanding wall that I got a bunch of freestanding IKEA shelves that I built kind of attached to the wall and built some structure for it to hold it there. So I do have some. Price increase will probably go into effect with some of the newer stuff arriving next year. Best meal at the pub for LegionsCon. So I eat there quite a bit because I stay at that hotel a lot. I really like the crab cake sandwich, but I think my favorite thing I've probably had there's a flatbread, like a balsamic fat flatbread that they have there. That's really, really good. That's probably my favorite. My favorite figure releasing this year. Has my favorite figure releasing this year been revealed yet? No. I wrote an answer to a post about Swig making a multiplication during the mystery boxes. Did it influence you? I'm sorry it didn't, because I didn't see it. So if I did see it, I don't remember seeing it. But no, it's a very cool idea. I'm happy you shared it. But no, I'm definitely not shy about giving credit where credit's due. That was one that I didn't remember seeing. How do the undead work? Was Malleus the same soul while living or given a different soul? There's a lot of stuff that we have to reveal about how the undead work. So I'm going to defer that question. It's a great question, and we've been working on some answers for that, and they're super cool. But the answers are tied into something else I can't talk about yet. Was Zeri in Valkatar before Oleg? Yes, she was. Will there be a chance to buy some old Figura merch? There's no plans to produce any of that old Figura merch. The truth is they have to be produced in fairly large numbers. So when we produce them, we do enough to do all the all-ins and then a small amount to do leftovers. But to actually go back and rerun some of those mugs, the amount that we would have to do, it just probably wouldn't make any sense. And with so much other stuff happening, never say never. It could happen, but there are no plans for it. Let's see. Yeah, lava trolls would be very cool, Jordan. Big Dub, as usual, with a great question. As your responsibilities have evolved over the years with Four Horsemen, what aspects of your job have you found that you look the most forward to? The parts of my job that I look forward to the most are, without a doubt, writing content. So writing bios, writing short stories, writing the book, that I love, and the work I get to do designing figures. Whenever I get to work with Eric and, when he bounces ideas off me, or when I actually do, with Ashes of Agmendor, get to do more genuine design work on some characters, those are by far my favorite parts of what I do. Thank you very much, Kirby. I appreciate you too. Are we going to see any more parts in the White Legion bone color? Possibly. I mean, I can tell you honestly, there's nothing planned for it. The idea with the bone color, the reason we kind of standardized with that standard bone was so things like the All Stars 6 skull pack and the tuberculi and maxilla, so they would all be compatible. So when we did the Skeleton Legion Builder 2, the most recent one, we wanted to do something different, so it just wasn't like a Maxilius without his robe on. But as of right now, there are no plans to do more of that color. We all really like that color, so I would be surprised if we never see it again. But we're certainly not just going to reissue, the head pack in that color and tuberculi in that color. Let's see. Are we getting more weapons packs? We tend to do weapons packs when we do new weapons. From a perfectly business standpoint, when you do weapons packs, they help pay for that tooling, because any new weapons is an expense for tooling. So beyond just adding them to the figures, doing weapons packs, not only is it cool for the Legionnaires because they get new weapons to outfit their characters with, it makes financial sense to do so. So when we do new weapons, you typically will see new weapons packs. Let's see. Yeah, 3 hours is not far to drive to a show. I mean, before it became my job, I used to go to ToyCon New Jersey all the time. That's the next show I'm doing, by the way. So I will not be at RetroCon in a few weeks. I will be at ToyCon New Jersey in Morristown, New Jersey on that September 14th and 15th. That one I will be at, which is really cool. ToyCon New Jersey was always one of my favorite shows. I've actually missed the last few. There was one, I think the one earlier this year, it actually coincided with Toylanta. So I was down in Atlanta. And then the one last December, it was like 1 week was ToyCon New Jersey. The following week was the company Christmas party. And I had just been in New Jersey for LegionsCon. So I decided to skip that ToyCon New Jersey and go to the Christmas party. I could have driven 2 weeks in a row, but it's a lot of driving. So I'm excited to be there. That's almost a 4-hour drive for me, and I used to do that all the time, and I loved it. Is there one specific Grail figure that I still want that I'm hoping to find? Grail figure. So when I go to shows, I've been looking. I always look for adventure people, because there's a couple adventure people that I still would like to grab. I have most of them. I was looking for Brainoid for a while. I got one. I want to. They come with two different, like the orange claw arm. Like it's either on the right or the left. I only have one of them. It's right here. I have this one, so it's on his left arm. So if I can find the one with the right arm, that's what I'm looking for. I always look for Shogun Warriors. I'd really love to find a vintage jumbo Shogun Warrior Guy King in good condition for a decent price. Those are probably two of the main things that I look for when I go to shows these days. That's probably my grail. I hate using the word grail, because if I wanted to, I could go on eBay right now and get one. I just don't want to spend that money. So those are what I'm looking for. There we go. ETA of the retailer wave. We haven't announced it yet. It's literally shipping probably within a week or two. So I'm just waiting before I know. I want to wait till it's on the water before I really announce it, but it's very, very soon. That's wrapping up and almost there. Any food trucks at LegionsCon? No, we are not allowed to have food trucks at LegionsCon. LegionsCon The actual venue has a restaurant, so contractually we are not allowed to have food trucks there. At ToyCon New Jersey there will be food trucks, but not at LegionsCon. So LegionsCon, there's the pub, and there's also last year they actually like set up stuff in the lobby for concessions, but we are not allowed anything beyond that. Any news on the book? So I finished my edits this week. It had gone in front of an editor. They gave us a bunch of suggestions. I talked about this, like weird suggestions that I hadn't thought about. Things like, I think the example I used is there's a scene where a character yells incoming when like something's attacking. And it was pointed out that incoming is actually a modern military term, and it was kind of out of place in this. There's certain slang terms that are used. So just kind of fixing some of that stuff, cleaning some of that stuff up, that is now done. So it's going into final stage of editing. I know that doesn't give you a timeline for when it's going to be. In terms of the first 10 years book, that is still, Trevor's still wrapping up the photography on that. So Carver Customs, what table am I looking forward to checking out at LegionsCon this year? Dude, honestly, man, and this is going to sound like total bullshit, I love all of them. I'm excited just to be there and check out everything. One of my favorite moments last year, because it was one of the only moments of quiet all weekend for me, was when Eric and I walked the floor on Friday night, after we had kicked everyone out, just getting to see the displays and stuff like that. That's very exciting. I'm pumped for everything. There's nothing specific. I mean, Glyos, because I'm gonna buy Glyos figures while I'm there, but beyond that, that's the only one I know I'm going to make a purchase at. I'm just excited to see everything that's going to be there. Any chance Scarabus version 2 could be a future Figura? Never say never, but probably never. You know, we've been very, very clear that that's the past. All of that stuff, Seventh Kingdom, Gothotropolis, all of that, those licenses, those properties have been retired. So the odds of us, Figura Obscura, it's to do one of our own characters in Figura Obscura. That's not what Figura Obscura is about, any of those. So people ask all the time if we will see another version of those characters. Anniversary year would be a great time to do it. We have been very clear that, that's really not something we're looking to do. I can definitively tell you once again, that is not something we're looking to do. My favorite shirt that Four Horsemen has made, I don't know if it's still available. I really like my Headless Horseman Flaming Pumpkin shirt, and I really like, they both have flames, oddly. I really like my Miss Monster Aerithir shirt. Both those are retro rags. Those are probably my two favorite shirts that I have that are Four Horsemen. Is the Walter figure the standard skeleton color? It's very, very close. I don't have one here. Oh, I have Walter. I don't have a standard skeleton figure here to check, but if I remember correctly, they're pretty close. What were my writing influences while growing up? Oh, goodness. Growing up, weirdly, the only things I remember reading a lot of growing up were Choose Your Own Adventure books. I loved Choose Your Own Adventure books when I was a kid, but that's a genre, not really like an author or something. Since I've grown up, my favorite author is Neil Gaiman, is probably my favorite author of all time. Patrick Rothfuss with the Kingkiller Chronicles, absolutely love that. There's a book called The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. That's one of my all-time favorite books. Those are a couple that come to mind there. The Six of Crows books by Leah Berdargo. Those I absolutely love. Those are some that come to mind. Okay. Who is the most skilled swordsman in Mythos? I don't know how to answer that. Because when I think of a skilled swordsman, I think of like someone who just uses a sword. So I'm going to instead answer it like who's probably who's the most skilled warrior. Otho is certainly pretty high up there. If I had to pick one, Otho is probably where I'd go. Are the Shogun customs I'm making my favorite line that I've done? They're close. I'm enjoying this a lot. I'm enjoying it because I love projects that have parameters to them. And as wonderful as it is just to say, like, I'm just going to create something cool, or even just say, I'm going to make samurai customs. The fact that these are reimaginings of the existing Legions characters that's been a lot of fun because it gives me parameters to work within. So these have been a great fun to do. I've done samurai customs before. I always liked doing them. Beyond that, my Sandman set from last year is very near and dear to my heart. That's one that I will not sell. All my critter customs, like that kind of, the Woodhaven type characters and all of those, all the Kitsune stuff, those are probably my favorites as well. Nime, I answered the question earlier that yes, prices at shows will be coming up to retail down the road. It's not happening anytime soon. Down the road, next year at some point or whatever, as some of the waves that are on pre-order now start arriving, there's going to be some of those prices are going to go up. I was saying it specifically for the Cosmic Legions Ox Crew Book 2 wave. Some of those figures, the standard figures, they won't be $40 at shows. They'll be a little bit more than that. Let's see. Yes, Big Dub. That's earlier when I was answering my favorite questions. The Noble Pooh Bear shirt at Retro Rags. That is one that I designed. That is a favorite. I also designed the George Hates Fun. So yay. Blake reminding us all 73 days until LegionsCon, which is actually a good reminder as well that LegionsCon now, we posted last week that we are less than 200 tickets left. We are significantly less than that now. We're actually getting close to that 100 mark where we have about 100 two-day tickets left. So once again, I remind you that if you haven't purchased your LegionsCon ticket, don't wait too much longer. We will have some at the door, by the way. So even if we sell out of two-day badges, we will still have some single-day access at the door. Single-day access is $30 a day versus buying the two-day badge online. Definitely an advantage to buying the two-day badge, including the fact you get to pick it up early. Yeah, dude, Joe, King Killer and Six of Crows, two of my absolute favorites there. I mean, I like all of the Lee Bordargo's books there, the Grisha books, but it's Six of Crows. Those two are my favorite, Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Van, I have never read anything by either R.A. Montgomery or Edward Packard, so I have no idea who either of those are. Maybe I'm not recognizing the names, but neither of them ring a bell. What is my favorite current figure per faction? Oof, that's a long list. So let's see. Okay, so I got to go to the website here. So let's see. Factions. Let me share this. Okay, so favorite figures per faction. Army of Laodiceus. Very quickly, my favorite figure in this is, I'm going to go with Magnus. Legion of Arethyr. Legion of Arethyr is probably going to be, this is a tough one. This is a big, big group, and it includes a number of sentimental characters that I helped design. I'm probably going to go with Gorgo Aetherblade 2. Congregation of Necronominus. That one. Oof. Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to cheat and say it is Bluolith and Beradak because they're the twins and they go together. I am so excited for those two. Oh, my goodness. Xylona's Flock. Xylona's Flock, my favorite in that. A lot of good ones in this as well. Actually, I think it's Artemis Silvercord 2. Convocation of Basilia. Favorite figure in that? Probably a Rakagor. Circle of Paxis. Talazar, the Djinn. House of the Noble Bear. Atlas the Conqueror 2, and the easiest one is Sons of the Red Star. No, it is not Sir Gerard, because my favorite figure in the entire line is Scapular the Crypt Breaker 2. So there you go. Those are my answers. Let's see. Are any characters in the book important that may not be figures? So, Ken, one of the things I tried to do with the book is no, the major characters that are in the book already exist in the toy line. Rather than writing other new characters into roles in the book, I used characters that already exist in the toy line. So, you know, I'll give you an example. The Army of Laodicea. Obviously, we've got, you know, Attila Leosir. We've got Otho. They are the king of Leandor and his second in command. Magnus and Hadriana, they play an important role. You know, Faustia is one of his advisors as well. So rather than writing characters into the story that don't exist in toy form yet, I tried to use characters that already existed. There are certainly other characters in the book and everything that don't exist, but no super major important one. Are Kitsune Foxes now officially a race in Mythos? Technically, yes, because my Kitsune Samurai Kickapoo does actually appear in the Mythic Legions Tactics game. So kind of backdoor, like samurai-like characters and Kitsune, the race, both kind of backdoor became canon. So does it open up for a figure? Who knows? It could. I would love that. Just picked up a Sir Gerard today. That's very cool. I have not read the Stormlight Chronicles by Brandon Sanderson, or I don't think I have. What race would I like to be introduced to the line? Oh, goodness. So it's tough because there's certain races that can't. You know, Mind Flayer is, I saw someone earlier mention Mind Flayers. That's a D&D race. Like, that is licensed. We're not going to do a Mind Flayer. So any race that would need to be introduced would have to be a race that is either from like classic mythology or something that we make up. I mean, Kitsune would be awesome. I love the critter characters, so more anthropomorphic characters is always something that I'm super down and into. Did I skip Aetheron and Alithia? Oh, darn it. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me go back. As I was going, I just totally missed them. Okay, Aetheron. So we're back to Aetheron and Alithia, you said, right? Yeah, I totally did, didn't I? I just skipped them. So Alithia's Brood, my favorite in that, Alithia. She's probably my favorite. Valak I like a lot, but I think I'm going to have to go Alithia in that. And Order of Aetheron. I'm going to probably have to go Sir Gideon Heavensbrand 2. I'm really excited for Sir Enoch and Sir Elijah as well, but I think that Sir Gideon 2 kind of edges them a little bit. Ironically, Sir Gideon 1, I've always talked about. He was one of my biggest sleeper figures. He was the figure that made me realize that even if in photos you're not sure if you want it, if you can afford to get the all-in so you can check it out for yourself, it's so helpful to do so. Sir Gideon was a figure that in the first wave, I remember getting him only because he was part of the all-in. I didn't really care about it. The lore wasn't established back then the way it is now. And when I got it in, he went from being a figure I thought I was just going to sell to one of my absolute favorites in the line, and he remained that way for many years. So version 2 is even cooler. Let's see. What type of mount would I love? Mount. I don't know. I mean, any monster character would be cool. I always thought a chimera would be cool. I know we got like a chimera skeleton with Beluolith, but like a big chimera, I always thought would be really cool. Artemis is great. Yeah, dude. I would love shorter figures, halflings, gnomes, pixies. All of those types of characters would be very, very cool. If a friend who spent too much time at the pub can't, so I don't know which ones you're talking about, Sean. If you are in the Four Horsemen line and there's purchase limits, I don't care how many badges you have, they're going to limit you. If you go to the LegionsCon table, yeah, that's a little more flexible. But yeah, gnomes would be great. Yeah, we're not going to be making the Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual. As cool as that would be, I mean, not only is it owned by Hasbro, but so like I've seen people many times say like, "Oh, I wish you guys would get the Lord of the Rings license or the Elden Ring license and stuff like that." And dude, those are all super cool properties, super cool designs, and I'm sure we crush those figures. But for us artistically, they're not as interesting because they're fantasy figures, right? So we're already in our fantasy world. We're already creating a world all our own. That's one of the reasons why Figure Obscura is so much fun, because it allows Eric to play in a world outside of fantasy and sci-fi that we've created. So, projects that offer new challenges, like if we're going to create a fantasy figure, we're going to create a Mythic Legions figure. If we're going to create a science fiction figure, we're going to create a Cosmic Legions figure. So I totally understand, and it's kind of touching when someone loves a property like Elden Ring or Lord of the Rings, and they say, "Hey, it's my favorite property. You're my favorite toy makers. I would love you guys to do it." Beyond just the realities of licensing, there's also the realities of like, we want to do something that we're kind of already doing. When will we get the Master and Apprentice figure from the Red Star of Kubara? Have they been revealed? No, they have not. I would love to do them. What's an animal race I'd like to see? I mentioned earlier, Kitsune. I think Kitsune would be very, very cool. That's a fox race. Beyond that, dude, I mean, anything. I've done so many of them. You know, if I had to pick one, probably turtles. I've done turtle parts with Wolf King Customs, but I think that an actual Eric Treadaway turtle character would be amazing. Blake saying, has there been any ideas thrown around in regards to making high quality trading character cards? I don't know what that means by trading character cards, but we have talked at length about doing card sets. I mean, we have a lot of different projects that we've talked about. It's definitely a cool thing. It's definitely something that I think would be really neat, and others think so as well. At some point, it becomes a matter of there's only so many cycles in a day. You know, like right now, the amount of stuff that we are working on, like just talking about the things that you know about. Obviously, there's figure waves. There's 2 different books that we're working on right now. I've mentioned in the past that there's a comic project that we are working on. So there's a lot of stuff going on already, and that's only the stuff I'm allowed to talk about at this point. So there's only so many cycles in a day. At some point, there are going to be ideas that, as cool as they are, they have to get put on the back burner because there's just not enough time to do them. Any more non-figure merch that you can share? I'm trying to think if there's anything cool that, and we've tried a few things. You know, I mean, the skateboards, the screen prints, you know, all that stuff. It's a lot of fun for us to do. Like we tend to do projects and things that we think are cool that we kind of want for ourselves, and doing a run of them justifies us being able to produce them for ourselves. But John, nothing comes to mind right now that I can talk about. Yes. Kevin, I don't know what you're talking about with a Legion's Ladies reveal. I'm not being like secretive or whatever. I have no reveal for the Legion's Ladies, so no. I mean, maybe they're revealing something of their own, but not something official. So Big Dub saying, what now released a reveal project seemed like it was not going to happen or faced a lot of unforeseen obstacles. Good God. Oh my God, there's one. The Legion's Armory experience. I'll say that. That has been years in the making. That is the answer to that. It is literally the perfect answer to that question, and it's going to be part of what we talk about when we finally reveal it. Okay. Yeah, they're Drunk Gizmo. There are aquatic characters. I've said famously before, people, it amuses me when I say things and people will routinely say, like, Jeremy said this, Jeremy said that. I do try to be very deliberate in what I say, but I have said that there is a lot of water in and around Mythos. So we will certainly be seeing some of the races and so forth that make their homes in or on the water at some point. Thrasis, Gluten Freestyle Thrasis is an absolutely great figure. That entire wave, when it hits, is going to, I mean, both of them, obviously Necronominus and All-Star 6, that's going to be, when you see the reaction that Valiant Knight got and the Skeleton Legion Builder 2, like, dude, seeing people post Skeleton Legion Builder 2 and hearing people say, like, dude, this is my figure of the year. This is the most fun I've had with a figure in so long. It's such a simple figure, which is part of its beauty and part of why it's so cool and so much fun. But both of those figures have gotten such a great reaction from our fan base when those actually hit, when the Necronominous wave hits in full, it is really going to show people like how we're elevating our products, how we have been pushing, and why it's taking as long as it's taking, unfortunately. MO Dark, have we considered the idea of having a parts library for sale online? Talked about this before too. It is such a nightmare. It would be such a nightmare logistically to try to do that. The reality is our Legion Builder figures at $26, that's the lowest we're going to go. Like, to sell, we don't want to get into the process of, we're selling lower arms and we're selling a head and we're selling this. The amount that we would have to charge for that to compensate not only for the part but for the labor to get involved with packing it and it would be unrealistic. It's just not. That is not a business model that we want to get into, but that is one of the reasons we do Legion Builders. So, I know that people say like, oh, I don't want to buy a Legion Builder because then I have a lot of extra parts if I just need this part or whatever. But again, this is part of that, kind of running the business where there's certain things that just aren't feasible for us to be able to do at the size and scale that we are at, and selling parts like that. I mean, hell, the only company I know that does that is Lego. And I mean, if we get to Lego size, hell yeah, we'll sell parts to you. Oh yeah, there's tons of cool D&D monsters that aren't IP related. Yeah, Kent. So Eric has been on Toys That Made Us on the Masters of the Universe episode. I think that was actually season 1, and they did interview him for that. What is the biggest misconception about Legion in the studio I wish we could correct? That's a good question. So for years, one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, was that Legions are too expensive. Because what would happen is people would they discover Legions in some way, they'd go to the website and they'd see like Adam on it. Then, oh my God, that guy's super cool. He looks like He-Man. And then they'd go to eBay and go like, I want Mythic Legions Adam on, and it was $400. And they'd be like, screw this. This wave is too expensive. Or they'd look for Atlas. They inevitably look for figures that were like 5-6 years old and were very expensive on the secondary market. Instead of saying like, well, wait a minute. And this is why, Dorklair has mentioned this before as well. I've mentioned this. If you start collecting Legions, look forward, not backwards. What is available for purchase right now? I mean, right now, beyond the fact that there's, the Cosmic Legions pre-order going on, there's a number of figures in stock at storehorseman.com. For the first time ever, we have in-stock figures that we do not plan to take them down. I've had a number of people reach out to me and say, hey, when are those figures going to come off? As of right now, we don't have plans to take them off. A lot of the stuff that's on the website, like Reinforcements 2 and like the LegionsCon figures and the Mistros and stuff, those are figures that were exclusive to Full Horseman. So we're not competing with our retail partners on those. Retailers, you can go to retailers right now and you can get the Poxus wave, the All-Stars 5 wave, the Cosmic waves. There's a lot of stuff out there that's available. So that misconception of this wave is too hard to jump into because it's too expensive, that's the misconception I've heard in the past that I most want to change. I think is most fake or false. Good question, Alec. Thank you very much for that. Any plans to do more Outpost characters? Yeah, I do. I loved the Outpost wave. That little kind of, the Outpost wave was meant to be a palette cleanser. It was meant to be a bridge between the first big book and the second big book, or big sections. So yeah, Outpost waves are certainly something that we want to do more of. There's a lot of outposts in Cosmarium, so I think you'll see those again. Trying to go through the comments here. We're getting close to the end, so seeing what final comments and questions I can have. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this tonight. I know this has been a lot of fun for me. I love just kind of chatting and answering questions. Let's see. Nope. Figures will not be full retail at shows because, as I said, the retail price for some of these figures is going to be coming down. This does not affect any waves that have already happened, okay? So any waves that have already happened, nothing's changing on that. These are new waves going forward. So basically, a figure that's like $37, right? That on the pre-order, that would normally be $50 from retailers. Those figures are going to be $45 from retailers. So the standard figures will be $45 from retailers. And when they do finally come in and we have them at shows, we might only have them at 1 or 2 shows. And when we do, they will be $45 just like the retailers charge. So like I said, a few dollars more for us at shows on some of the figures, but a few dollars less from retailers to kind of level that out. Will there be more additions to the store? Not right now. Everything is in there right now, but I mean, yeah, eventually we'll add more stuff. Kent, retailer exclusives. You mean the 2024 retailer wave? I said earlier, it's looking like that's wrapping up and going to ship from the factory probably within a few weeks. So gluten-free, the only figure we kind of did that was a little samurai-esque so far technically in the line was the Blade Master. That's part of the LegionsCon 2-pack. That was muddling through with the parts that we have available now. If we ever did something that was more samurai inspired, Eric would certainly want to do more with that. So certainly could happen. There's been a number of other types of cultures that have influenced the Mythic Legions line over the years, so it's not unprecedented. Dak and Tool, what action figures do I remember playing the most with as a kid? Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, and Masters of the Universe were probably 3 of my favorites. I had a lot of Transformers, and then a lot of the weird lines, like Inhumanoids. I have a whole bunch of Inhumanoids over there. Crystar, a lot of those weird kind of waves that were, secondary to the bigger ones that I just mentioned. If I was using Mythic Legions for a chess set, who would be my king, queen, knight, bishop, rook, and pawns? King would be Attila, queen would be Artemis, knight would be Otho, bishop, Shui, rook, Castle of Four Sides, I guess. Pawns, Blue Shield Soldiers. For the bad guys, King, Necronominus, Queen, Alithia, Knight, Erether. Should I not do the Dark Four? Okay, I won't do the Dark Four because it's too easy, right? King, Gorgo, Queen, Morgulith, Knight, Brother Mandibulus, Bishop, Arazak, Aether, the Aetherhold is the Rook, and the pawn would be Goblin Legion Builder. There we go. Friday at G-Con, will there be room for people that did not go to intern for a day? There should be. there was last year. So the way that this works is that room fits like 250 people officially. You could probably cram in more. Anyone that was at G-Con, whether they are one of the lottery winners or one of our invited guests, they have priority access to the room. So what we did last year was there will be 2 lines outside of the room. Anybody who is priority access, who is an intern, they will go in first, so they get first pick of the seats. Then once they're all in, the rest of the line gets to come in. There is a limited amount of space, so yeah, there could be a point where we say we can't put anyone else in here. It did not happen last year. There was actually some room. It is a large room, so there was room. There was standing room last year as well. Besides the fact that it's like a 6-hour presentation, some people got up and left and came back. So I would suggest that if you want to go to G-Con, get there early that morning and get in line, and you should be all set. Oof. Big Dub, I do like that Shogun Urzak. At this point, I have no plans to sell any of the Mythic Shoguns, but I didn't have plans to sell anything last year either, and we know how that worked out. Yeah, Shui, dude, he's a cool character, and I was listening. Curtis is going to give me crap for this because I'm going to talk about the enablers, but I was listening to the most recent episode of the enablers, and they were saying that people who, they hope people don't sleep on Shui because they feel like he's an important character, and he is an important character. Have there been any cool mount conversations? Yes. Can I run a gauntlet to promote LegionsCon in late October? Curtis, are you offering to be my booking agent and to book me on all the shows? Because if you are, I will make myself available. Quick question about the lore. Is there Alec, you are killing it with the questions tonight, dude. Is there inner faction conflict in the Legions of Light and Dark? Like, does the Legion of Aether ever go to war with Lithia's brood? So yes, not necessarily the last part, Lithia and Aether, but there are certainly conflicts. So I'll give you an example. In the lore, we talk about the fact that the Order of Aetheron suffered through years of disgrace. So there was a point where essentially, like, greedy people who were masking their ambitions and their greed, through the guise of being pious, they kind of took control of the Order of Aetheron. And the rightful ruler, Sir Gregory Heavensbrand, which is Sir Gideon's father, he got very sick. So he was basically a leader in name only. He was a very good man, a very pious man, very good leader who unfortunately was robbed of his opportunity to lead because he got so sick. And during that time, the Order of Aetheron fell into, corruption, essentially. The Templars who guard the Temple of Aetheron were disbanded. A number of them were imprisoned and everything. There was a lot, and a lot of this is already in the lore if you read through some of the stuff, but we solidified it. Obviously, Sir Gideon rescued them. He brought them back to their rightful place. But during that time, there was a point where the army of Laodiceus almost marched on Aetheros. And it was only the intervention of the Xylonis flock who allowed them to not go to war with Aetheros. And instead, the other 3 factions in the Legions of Light, Xylonis flock, the army of Laodiceus, and the Convocation of Vasilia, they basically ostracized the Order of Aetheron. They refused to invite them to any official duties. Their vote in any official votes was not considered. And it wasn't until Sir Gideon rescued them and brought them back into the light that their standing as a full voting member of the Legions of Light was reestablished. So war did not happen there, but it certainly was a possibility. And that's just one example of kind of like interfaction conflicts. Mm, mm, let's see. Um, Very good. Yes, they would. Curtis succinctly puts it: they wouldn't let Etheron play any reindeer games. Yes, that is true. Yeah, I do. I love to share lore. That's some of my favorite. When I was asked earlier what my favorite things to do when Dub asked that, and I said, writing content and stuff like that, talking about this stuff. It is very, very exciting. It's also, do I want this book out so bad? Like, oh my God, it's so funny because everything that we are working on, like whether it's the toys, whether it's the lore, whether it's these reveals, we want it in your hands and out there so much. That's why we do what we do, so you can enjoy this stuff, so we can enjoy this stuff. So yeah, it's all pent up in here. I literally just finished editing yesterday, so it's all very fresh as well. Yeah, I mean, I gave a little bit of a book update earlier about where it is. I don't have anything substantial to share a show beyond that, but as I do, I certainly will. If Necronominus is the leader of the Horseman factions, who's the leader of the Beast faction? So Necronominus is not the leader. So there actually is no leader amongst the Dark Four. However, as it says in his bio, all of the other members of the Dark Four, Erithir, Lithia, and Poxus, tend to defer to Necronominus because all of their powers lead to death, right? War leads to death. Famine, pestilence, they lead to death. While he is not technically the leader, I guess not in name, but in really the way they defer to him, he kind of would be that way. Which one would that be within the others? None of them, because it was very different. So in that first age, Helios, the jealous creator god, he created the Dark Four based on the manifestations of things that were in him. Like he thought about the world that him and Selene had come from, and how that world had succumbed to war, and that led to famine and pestilence and ultimately death. Those memories became the physical manifestations that we now know as Erithira, Lithia, Poxus, and Necronominus. So after they were created and their armies were created and they went out to destroy the realm, Helios retreated. Selene, the Great Mother, did not. So really the leader of the Legions of Light is Selene, or I should say was Selene, because both Selene and the Great Beasts have not been seen since the first age of the realm. Going back a little bit, let's see. Okay. So that was a good question from Moku. Yeah, so Gluten Free saying there's no other toy company that does this stuff. We just do what makes us happy. It's like, we've always said we're a bunch of people that are living our best lives, getting to do this kind of stuff. And this is all part of that. We genuinely enjoy doing this and sharing. I was doing this show before I worked for the studio. You go back and watch. This is episode 191. You go watch some of those early episodes before I was working there full time. And, I was still sharing this type of passion. Now it's genuinely not a hobby. It's what I get to do. And I'm so fortunate, and I'm happy that comes through. I don't know if there's any movies I would recommend to hype you up for the next stuff. They're not connected. I can tell you what I'm watching. I consistently watch Doctor Who because it's my wife's comfort show, and she makes us watch it all the time. I just finished my second viewing of Shogun I watched it myself and then made her watch it, and she loved it. Highly recommended. We're gonna start watching Rings of Power season 2. Super excited for that. I have to watch Umbrella, the new season of Umbrella Academy. But those are things I'm going to watch. I haven't watched those yet. So what else have I been enjoying lately? I haven't been watching a whole lot. Oh, I'm in the middle of the new season of Cobra Kai. Can't recommend that highly enough. Horrible show, but so enjoyable and fun. It's junk food for the brain. I absolutely love it. That show has no right being as good as it is, but I love it. So, my God, there's a couple suggestions. Will G-Con be live on YouTube? Yes, it will, Tiffany. It will be on the Four Horsemen YouTube channel like it always is. When's the next opportunity to share a Dynamite? Ironically, dude, I just made those like 2 days ago. Dynamite is this very Rhode Island, actually it's a Woonsocket, very specific part of Rhode Island. It's referred to as a sloppy Joe on crack. That's what they call it. But weirdly enough, I just made some. Yeah, I did not do a gathering at my house this year with just everything else going on. I wasn't able to make it work, so I'm gonna have to do that at some point. Yes, Green Knights make me very happy, Kevin. Yeah, Curtis, thank you. So Curtis is saying, if you haven't watched some of those early episodes of Mythic Conversations, there's some customizing gold in there. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, the show has evolved dramatically from those early days where it was very, very focused on customizing. It's become much more of talking about what's going on, having guests on to talk to them about what's going on and stuff. It's become more of a news type thing. It's weird because there's sometimes where I want to go back and do more customizing type stuff. But I'm actually customizing a lot less these days than I was back then. And that's just totally a product of the amount of time that I have available to me. So I don't have like as many ideas for topics and things that I want to share on the show from a customizing standpoint. So it has just kind of organically moved away from that. But I am happy that there is still value found in some of those early episodes. So with that, I think we are all set. Yes, Michael Casper comes in. Yes, Scapula the Crypt Breaker is my favorite figure in the line, bar none. Dude, Michael, I'll tell you the truth. Even if it didn't turn into Amir Kaspar, it would still be my favorite figure. But the fact that it does both, like Emir Kaspar is probably a top 5 figure for me. The fact that it's a top 5 figure that is in the same package with my number 1 figure means that it's going to be real hard to surpass that one. I will also admit, though, that part of the reason I like Scapular, like the figure, is I love Scapular, the character. He is, without a doubt, I've said this before, my two favorite characters to write in the book are Artemis Silvercord and Scapular the Crypt Breaker. With that, I am going to say goodnight. I am going to call it an evening. I will be back here next week to talk about something else. Reminder again, the pre-order for Cosmic Legion's Ox Crew Book 2 Harrow Zone ends this Sunday, September 1st at storehorseman.com. As always, we thank you for your support of those pre-orders. These lines are built on pre-orders, so getting that pre-order in helps us continue to do the stuff that we do. Thank you for allowing us to do that. Until next time, I'll see you soon.